All right. Let's do soliloquy number 2. Okay. Um, so here we go. Let me get this down just a little bit. All right. Soliloquy number 2 happened right after the ghost disappeared. Okay. Oops. Where is it? There we go. Here we go. It happened right after the ghost disappeared. Line 92, Act 1, Scene 5, line 92 to line 112. 92 to 112. So that's what we'll put up here at the top. Soliloquy number 2. 92, oops, sorry. Act 1, Scene 5, 92 to 112. All right? And it starts out with all you hosts. Oh, all you host of heaven. So here we go. We've got heaven, oh, earth. And then he says, what else? We've got heaven, we've got earth, and we've got hell. Look at this. He has covered the entire universe, the heavens, earth, and hell. Just a very interesting concept of this chain. You know, he's bound to earth, but now he is crying out to heaven, and then wondering if he should couple hell. Should I do what hell? It says invoke the powers of hell, but it also to couple means to get together. Shall I hook up with hell? In the sense that if he kills his uncle, then he's going to be in a similar situation. So he's going to have hell to pay or to answer for. He also says, hold my heart. He's talking to his heart. He's like, hold on a second. And my sinews, that means all of my muscles, do not grow instant old. In other words, don't grow old on me. Bear me up stiffly. He's talking to his whole body. And then he says, remember thee, because the last thing that his father said, or the ghost said, was remember me. So he's questioning, remember thee again, and then remember me. So what can we do with this? First of all, if we're going to do our spots, the subject of this is, in other words, what's happening, what's going on. Hamlet's response to his father's murder and visitation. So the father visited him from purgatory and then told about his father's murder. Okay, the next thing we do is we paraphrase. Well, it's pretty straightforward. In other words, we've got we've got hosts of heaven. He summons heaven and hell and earth, really. And then he's talking to his brain here. He's talking to his body. Back here, he's talking to his sinews. He's talking to his heart. Oops. He's talking to his heart, he's talking to his sinews, and he's talking to his brain. So we've got this personification going on here. So if we want to just paraphrase it briefly, we could say Hamlet what does he do? Hamlet addresses self. Okay, that's his paraphrase. And in doing so, he's resolved. So if we did something like a thematic 3-word sentence. So Hamlet addresses self, and then, what we could do is son makes commitment. Okay, so he's totally resolved right here. I'm going to take away everything. There's going to be nothing that I'm going to remember. None of the records of my past, my memory, any books that I've read, any pressures that I've felt, everything from my youth that I've copied in my brain. I'm going to get rid of it all, and all I'm going to think about is your commandment to get revenge. Okay, so he's made a commitment to forget all else except to avenge his father. The O is the occasion, obviously, hearing the news, hearing the truth, okay, and the command. You know, his father didn't say, hey, if you think you want to do this, that would be great. Instead, he commands him. You know, some of the things he says, I find thee apt. What he means by that, I find thee apt, I find thee able. And look at this. He says, may I sweep to my revenge. Okay, I will with wings as swift sweep to my revenge. I'll do that. And then the ghost says, yes, I find thee able. In other words, you're fitting. You're the perfect person to do that. And already we know that Hamlet is not going to sweep to his revenge. Instead, he's going to make a plan to act kind of crazy. All right, so that's the occasion, and then we have the tone. And the tone, I would say his initial tone is solemn. Okay, we get that in the first half, and as he speaks to his heart, sinews, and brain, which really is, what do we call that? That's called personification. And then I would say there's a shift in tone to this. Again, it's like accusatory again. Another accusatory tone. He kind of keeps that going. He had that accusatory in the second half of his first soliloquy. But accusing because of the repetition of smiling villain. Okay, so we can see those literary devices, the personification and the repetition. Okay, the title, O All You Hosts of Heaven. Really, he's just calling out for help. All right, and then as a speaker, okay, he's not only desperate for help, calling on heaven, calling on his heart, and all of that, but he is resolved. Desperate but resolved. And then the final theme, I would say, is, initial shock always leads to action. That's what he desires. His resolution is to do this, is to swear. Now to my word, his resolution is to keep the commandment. Remember, it is adieu, adieu, remember me. That's what he says. So he's just repeating the words of his father. Adieu, adieu, remember me. And that's what he's saying. So uncle, now to my word, it is as my father said, adieu, adieu, remember me. So he swears to keep the promise. Before I go any further, I do want to say one last thing. The initial shock doesn't necessarily, he's going to take an action, but it's not going to be the sweeping to revenge. I added here, initial shock often leads to someone making a rash vow, or a vow that they may not be able to keep right away. So I added action and vow. The other thing I want to put up here under the paraphrase, Hamlet addresses self, son makes commitment, but he also does something that his father tells him not to do. He attacks mom. Okay, so remember here, he said, taint not thy mind, nor let thy soul contrive against thy mother. Leave her to heaven and to those thorns that in her bosom lodge to prick and sting her. All right, and of course, what does he do? He doesn't get but 8 lines in. And then he says, oh, most pernicious woman, pernicious being nefarious, wicked, evil, untrustworthy. Jezebel. All right, there you go. I think I got everything in there.